Picture this. You step into Versailles, the palace that once dazzled the world with gold, silk, and candlelight. But take one deep breath, and your nose tells a story the history books rarely mention. Behind those velvet curtains and powdered wigs lurked a stench so foul it made visitors gag. This was the playground of France's royal women lady, dripping in diamonds, but marinating in months-old sweat. You think your worst college dorm smelled bad? Try the Queen's bedchamber, filled with chamber pots that were emptied right out the windows onto the gardens where people stroll. And yet, they called this place the pinnacle of elegance. Under towering wigs hid colonies of lice. The grandest gowns were never washed, just doused in more perfume to mask the rot. Even giving birth wasn't sacred. Queens pushed out royal heirs in rooms packed like a public theater. Welcome to the hidden hygiene horror of Versailles, where every sparkle hid a stink you'd never forget. If you think you can stomach the secrets these royal women kept behind lace fans and silk gloves, you're in the right place. Before we dive nose first into the 5 filthiest royal habits, hit that like button and subscribe. Comment dirty below if you want more tales from the rotten side of history. Now, let's open the chamber doors and breathe it in, if you dare. Imagine being born into silk sheets and diamond crowns, but dreading the idea of a simple bath. In 17th century Versailles, for all its glittering chandeliers and flowing gowns, the real filth lay just beneath powdered skin. Royal women, expected to be the embodiment of beauty, rarely touched water. Why? Because back then, doctors swore warm water opened your pores to disease. So what did these glamorous ladies do instead? They wiped themselves with linen cloths dipped in wine or vinegar, or worse, sometimes a touch of saliva if nothing else was around. A bath might happen once every few months, but even that was more ritual than reality. When it was finally time to bathe, it was a logistical nightmare. Tubs were dragged into chambers, water was fetched bucket by bucket, and heating it over open flames took hours. And don't imagine rose petals and luxury. The same water was used by multiple family members, men first, women last. By the time a duchess slipped in, the water was lukewarm soup filled with residue from everyone before her. Versailles itself suffered. Beneath gold leaf ceilings, a sour stench drifted through halls. Visitors wrote home about the suffocating air, a rancid mix of stale perfume, unwashed bodies, and mildew clinging to heavy velvet curtains. Perfume merchants made fortunes, selling gallons of floral water to hide the truth. Under that silk gown was skin that hadn't felt real soap in months. The irony? These same women would spend hours dressing, layering themselves in lace and pearls, only to carry layers of sweat and dead skin trapped underneath. They were roses wrapped in rot, dazzling from afar, but revolting up close. And yet, this was only the beginning. Versailles' so-called ladies of refinement didn't just stop at ignoring baths. Their next secret is even filthier. Ready for the stinking truth behind royal toilets? Let's go. Gliding through Versailles, endless marble corridors, silk gowns sweeping the floor, powdered wig piled high. But watch your step. beneath all that grandeur lurked a problem. No diamond necklace could mask human waste. See, the mighty palace of Versailles, for all its gold and glory, had next to no proper toilets. Hundreds of nobles, thousands of servants, endless parties, and yet barely a functioning bathroom in sight. Instead, the royal elite relied on one grim solution: chamber pots. Small bowls tucked under beds, hidden behind velvet drapes, or stashed in dark corners. When nature called, you did what you had to do. Then you or a hapless servant dumped the contents out a window or into the garden below. Imagine the horror of strolling through Versailles gardens in your best silk slippers, only to feel a cold, suspicious splash from above. And it wasn't just the windows. Some courtiers didn't bother with pots at all. Men would shamelessly relieve themselves against palace walls or in secluded hallways. The smell, unimaginable. Visitors from cleaner parts of Europe often wrote home, scandalized that the perfume court smelled more like an open sewer. By the early 1700s, things got so bad that the king had to issue an official rule. The corridors must be cleaned at least once a week. Once a week. A bandage on a festering wound. The filth wasn't just disgusting, it was dangerous. Parasites and diseases spread like gossip at court, and flies buzzed happily from chamber pots to banquet tables. And what about wiping? Forget the softness of modern toilet paper. It didn't exist. Scraps of cloth, straw, handfuls of hay, even bare hands were all fair game. Washing up afterward? Rare at best. The same fingers that picked dainty pastries and adjusted pearl necklaces had been places you'd rather not imagine. So, next time you see paintings of Versailles, glamorous ballrooms, remember, behind those silk curtains, a stench festered that no perfume could ever conquer. And yet, somehow, things get worse. Because above all this filth, royal heads hid secrets far more itchy and alive. Ready for the next horror? Let's talk wigs. Now, imagine the grand salons of Versailles glowing with candlelight. Silk gowns rustle, fans flutter, powdered wigs sway above painted faces. But hidden beneath those elegant towers of hair, a crawling, wriggling kingdom of uninvited guests. Royal women's wigs were not just stylish, they were colossal. Some soared over 2 feet high, balanced on wire frames stuffed with horsehair, cotton, and wool, to keep these gravity-defying sculptures standing tall. The ladies slathered their real hair and wigs with pomade made of animal fat. It worked wonders for shape and for lice. It was paradise. You see, when you don't wash your real hair for weeks or even months and pile on layers of grease and powder, you create the perfect breeding ground for lice colonies. Entire generations of these tiny squatters thrived up there. Some gossips even whispered the lice in Versailles were so big and well-fed, they practically had royal titles of their own. So what did the ladies do when the itching became unbearable? They didn't dare ruin their elaborate hair masterpieces in public. Instead, at lavish feasts or garden parties, they discreetly reach into their purses, pull out a delicate silver lice comb, or even a special long-handled lice claw, and scratch away mid-conversation. Picture a noblewoman nibbling candied fruit with one hand while casually excavating her scalp with the other. No one blinked an eye. After all, everyone itched. The trick was to do it gracefully. To make matters worse, these wigs were rarely cleaned. Perfume was sprinkled to mask odors, but the powder and grease trapped sweat, dandruff, and dead skin for weeks. Lice eggs multiplied undisturbed. Some aristocrats slept propped up to keep their wigs intact, so the tiny invaders feasted undisturbed all night long. Of course, this wasn't just a royal nuisance, it was a symbol of status. The higher and more elaborate the hair, the wealthier you appeared, even if your crown was crawling. The poor had no such burden. They shaved their heads to escape the torment. But for Versailles' high society, better to suffer lice than to look unfashionable. So next time you see a portrait of a powdered lady with hair like a wedding cake, remember, under that powdered glory, an entire itchy kingdom was having the time of its life. Ready to peek at what the royals dared to eat? Onward to the next horror, the royal kitchens. Glittering chandeliers, gold-plated cutlery, and a banquet table sagging under roasted swans, glazed pies, candied fruits, and the finest wines. Versailles knew how to throw a feast fit for kings and queens. But behind the luxury lurked a revolting truth that would make any modern buffet look like a sanitized miracle. The royal kitchens were chaotic, cramped, and worst of all, filthy. Without modern plumbing, waste from the palace's primitive toilets sometimes seeped back into the food preparation areas. The stone floors were slick with spills and scraps, a magnet for rats and mice scurrying around the leftover crumbs. Flies buzzed from garbage heaps to half-cooked meats, spreading germs with every wing beat. Cockroaches skittered over bread loaves that would soon sit on a king's plate. Royal cooks did their best, but in an age with no refrigeration, no disinfectants, and no real understanding of bacteria, they were fighting a losing battle. Fresh meat spoiled fast, especially in summer. Fish turned slimy, fruit fermented into mush. The noble guests, they ate it all anyway, unaware that each bite could hide a lurking nightmare. And oh, what nightmares they were! Under all the pastry layers and roasted glazes, parasites flourished. Tapeworms were practically an unofficial court member. Long, ribbon-like invaders that took up residence in royal guts for years. It's said that even King Louis XIV once passed a 6-inch tapeworm. Bon appetit, Your Majesty. And the poor noblewomen? They had to look delicate and graceful, sipping wine and nibbling tiny bites while fighting nausea and cramps from last night's spoiled stew. They'd smile at foreign dignitaries while secretly praying not to vomit during the royal toast. It's ironic, isn't it? Today, we treat ourselves to 5-star hotel buffet with chefs in spotless whites and gleaming utensils. Back then, Versailles' version of a buffet came with a bonus: a free serving of worms, germs, and gut-churning surprises. The cost of living like a royal? More than a crown could cover. And if you think this is the worst, wait till you see what the royal ladies endured in the most private, painful moment of all: childbirth under the watchful eyes of an entire court. giving birth like a stage show. In the 17th century, when a royal woman went into labor, it wasn't a moment of quiet privacy. It was a national performance. The delivery chamber became a theater packed with nobles, priests, doctors, and curious courtiers who came not to help, but to watch. Why the audience? Because royal lineage had to be seen to be believed. The fear of swap baby, secret lovers, or hidden stillbirths was so strong that the Queen's most intimate moment turned into a public spectacle. When Marie Antoinette gave birth, the room was so suffocatingly crowded that she fainted moments after delivering her child, not just from pain, but from the stifling heat and all those eyes fixed on her. Forget sterile hospitals and antiseptic wipes. Midwives and doctors wandered in, wearing grimy robes, with unwashed hands, no gloves, and knives wiped on their sleeves. The royal birth bed? Usually an old mattress stained by deliveries past, layered with cloths that hadn't been properly cleaned in years, and with every push, the stench of sweat, blood, and fear mixed with the heavy perfume of onlookers trying to mask the reality. Emotionally, it was torture. Imagine screaming through labor pains while trying to keep the posture of a queen, every moan judged, every grimace whispered about behind silk fans. A single frown from a duke could spark rumors of an illegitimate heir or a cursed birth. No wonder so many queens passed out from more than just pain. And then came the aftermath. The mother weak, bleeding, fighting infection from the dirty hands that just handled her newborn, while the court raised glasses to the next generation. For royal women, childbirth was never just about bringing new life. It was about enduring humiliation and risking death. All for the show. One birth scene, 50 eyes watching, not even a clean sheet on the bed. So, you think being rich means living easy? At Versailles, the more diamonds you wore, the worse you stank. Want to hear more filthy royal secrets? Hit subscribe and stay with Dirty Royal Secrets, where the crown shines, but the smell never fades.